All right. Looks like we've got a number of people in already, so I think we can go ahead and actually let's give it a few more minutes for people to some more people to join in. While we're waiting, why don't we find out if you guys could put in chat where you guys are from? It'd be great to hear from you. All right, we got some people popping in already. We got Chicago, Knoxville, Tennessee. That's great. Heathrow, Florida. Nice. Philippines. Looks like we're going international. That's right, George. You're from Charlotte. That's right. We got a broad range of people in here today. That is awesome. Uh, what's the weather like for you guys? I'm over here in Dublin. Uh, that's Dublin, California, not Dublin, Ireland. But it's starting to get a little bit cool here. Looks like the Indian summer is drying up. What's the weather? What's the weather like over there in Charlotte, George?
It's in the 70s. It's nice and sunny and windy.
Oh, very cool. Awesome. How's it like for you, Michael?
It is still hot, but it is cooling down a little bit. So
Oh,
it's
very cool.
probably 90 degrees right now.
Oh, that seems a little bit hot for me.
Yep.
All right. 70s in Torrance, California. Ooh, sounds brutal. Actually, you know what? 70s is not so bad. I could do 70s. 90s is brutal. All right. We're right at 9:02. If you're just joining the webinar, we'll be starting in about 60 seconds or so. Uh, we'll get the ball rolling soon, but feel free to introduce yourself a little by putting in chat where you're from and maybe what the weather's like. Charleston is South Carolina. That's very good. All right. So we're just hitting the tail end of that second minute. So I think we can go ahead and get started. All right. So good morning. Uh, as some of you may already know, we have one of the largest audiences that I've seen to date for this webinar, and I wanted to start by saying thank you all for joining. Um, we know you guys have really busy schedules, so we appreciate you taking the time. And we hope you get something really good out of today's webinar. Today, we're going to be taking a look at a comprehensive overview of NinjaOne and integrated ITSM, in this case, Freshservice. But our ITSM story can apply to any ITSM platform. We'll be going over some key aspects and advantages of features, benefits, and industry impact, and also what all of that means to you. But to start with, let me go through some introductions. Uh, I've been with 3GC for almost 15 years as the VP of Business Development and work closely with our client engagement team and our product team. Now, the company's been around for over 2 decades, and along the way, we also started another company called PandoBlocks that has a managed data warehouse with some really cool AI features built in. This year, we're working on bridging the two companies together, so it's a very exciting year for us as we provide a cohesive engagement solution for our clients. Next up, we've got Michael White, an exceptional engineer at NinjaOne, who I only recently found out he skyrocketed from being a solutions engineer to an L2 engineer and now a senior solutions engineer in barely over a year. Michael, do you want to just say a few words to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everybody. Nice to meet you. Thanks for the glowing introduction, Tetsu. Um, Based in Austin, Texas. I've been with Ninja for a little over a year and a half now, but really enjoying being in the IT space. And I think that you're going to really enjoy the solutions that I'll be speaking to a little bit today, as well as the rest of the 3GC team.
Very cool. Thanks a lot. I'm looking forward to seeing the actual interface and demo. Also on today's panel is George Stone. Now, he is a former Marine and self-proclaimed control freak. Uh, George heads up 3GC Group's IT operations side of the business, and he comes from decades of experience establishing and maturing IT operations for some really, really big names like Bank of America and Procter & Gamble. George, do you want to say a few words?
Yes, I'm a former Marine of 9 years. Getting out of the Marine Corps and getting into IT management. One of my first companies I worked for was actually Clearall. Um, Came on board, they had a help desk staff of about 10 to 12 contractors. And so coming on board, I grabbed a new laptop, went over to the area and asked them, okay, what's the process for building in a laptop? And they're like, they started scrambling and grabbed some CDs, and they're like, well, it's an all day process. And at that point in time, I was like, okay, let me do it myself. And within a month time, I had a bootable DVD. I'm dating myself. I've been doing this for 25 years. Um, and utilizing Novell ZenWorks. Some of the old people on this call might have remembered that name. So literally what I did was I built out an automated installation off a DVD. It took 20 minutes. The user was logging into their device. All their applications were configured within 20 minutes. Needless to say that contracting staff of 10 to 12 people at the end of the month, we no longer needed that. I replaced them with a couple of interns, and the environment was so stable. The only issues we had was supporting SAP and changing toner cartridges. So ever since that point in time, I've been looking at ways to streamline what we do to make it easier and more bulletproof. And we'll talk about this as we go through this webinar.
Very cool. Thanks for that. That's a very long history of trying to achieve operational efficiency. All right, let's get into what the agenda looks like. We'll start with a quick overview of ITSM security and data and how they'll integrate cost effectively to reduce everyday tasks. And also, not just cost savings and time savings, but real visibility into what's going on in your environment to make better decisions and make those decisions faster. We'll then get into a deeper dive of ITSM and NinjaOne, and Michael White will be also doing a quick demo of the NinjaOne interface. And then finally, we'll get into some real world case studies showcasing how these tools have helped companies see real world benefits. Now, we're not doing anything esoteric here. We're just giving you hard numbers showing how enterprises are able to remove everyday tasks, get more done with less, and integrate security and data into their ITSM to boot. And we've got hundreds of IT professionals in the audience here today. So we'll also be peppering in a couple of live poll questions, and you'll be able to see the aggregate of how your answers compare to other IT professionals in a multitude of industries, and as you can see, globally as well. And finally, at the end, we'll have a QA session for George and Michael. So if you have any specific questions about ITSM or NinjaOne, you'll be able to ask them. We'll reserve a good chunk of time at the end for that. And by the way, you'll probably notice periodically we'll be posting a link in the Zoom chat for any of you interested in scheduling a discovery meeting. So keep an eye open in chat. The first 3 companies who sign up will get 50% off the initial ITSM implementation and security implementation. Now, our combined integrated implementation engagement typically starts at around $10,000. So at 50% off, that's a minimum of $5,000 savings. And of course, for larger implementations, that 50% will still carry over. Finally, for any of you rushing to take notes, don't worry about that. We are recording this webinar, and at the end, we'll be sending a link to you via email. All right, so before we get into the meat of today's webinar, just a few quick words about 3GC. Now, some of our clients might be in the audience today and may remember our earliest years as a value-added reseller and technology support services company. And we have evolved a lot since those early days, and today we're an IT MSP with a unique set of services refined over decades with the help from experienced technical and business leaders. Now, we provide both IT and digital AI-enabled operations consulting and support. We help build and manage cloud and SaaS infrastructures. And we provide an industry-first data service desk, combining service management for data platforms and support management for data in a single operational package. And as far as we know, that's a fairly rare service to provide, especially when including that with ITSM and security. With all of that, our goal is to help companies transition from having all of these fragmented technology solutions that they've got to support, from data platforms to infrastructure to endpoints, to a more cohesive, continuously maturing IT operation. And critically, our goal is to do that with as little drama as possible, as few changes to your everyday tasks as possible. And so that's our goal. We want to make enterprise solutions painless and easy to adopt. So a quick look at some of our clients. Some of these clients we've been working with for well over a decade: Hallmark, Aristocrat, Belkin, and some are a little bit newer. Skin and Cancer is about 4 years. GPA is about 4 years with us as well. And with that, let's get into the meat of today's webinar. So let me hand things over to George to talk about IT, security, and data. George?
Certainly. Thank you. I've worked for some fairly large organizations. I built out support environments for them. They've got the big budgets. They can afford all the fancy tools. Coming into 3GC, I see a lot of our clients can't afford that kind of stuff, such as ServiceNow, CrowdStrike, Varonis, Splunk, Tenable, IBM Big Fix, SolarWinds, Title Orchestration, and Archer. Just name some big names. ServiceNow alone in a large organization, to include supporting the product and everything like that, can easily cost you $1 million a year between licensing and resource costs. I was at Bank of America, and very large IT organization. Some sections of the IT organization ran off of ServiceNow. Some utilize BMC Remedy, Jira. I was building out a new production data center with 30,000 servers. And let me tell you, the complexity of that type of environment was really hard to work in. Licensing for Varonis alone was like $1 million. And, you know, in some organizations, there is separation between IT, between security and everything like that. And sometimes they don't talk. We bought Varonis, the licenses for it, before we even did a proof of concept. And we deployed it to my Europe data center. Again, no real proof of concept. My biggest concern was I was replicating a petabyte at least worth of data across 4 different global data centers. The implementation of Varonis, because we didn't talk to one another, brought production down for 3 days. That was almost a resume generating event for the CISO. That's how bad of an impact I had to the environment. Let's move to the next slide. Now, today's pain points. What I'm seeing on clients lately is technical debt, no actual asset management inventory, or it's on an outdated spreadsheet. Basically, with my implementations, I automate asset management. I'm scanning the network. I'm classifying everything that's on the network. Again, Tetsu stated earlier on, I'm a control freak. I want to know what I control. I want to know what's out there. So we have pollers that will scan the entire network, and we're classifying networking equipment, printers, endpoint devices. In some of the organizations that I support, we're actually inventorying mechanical devices that are actually on the network too. Let's see, technical debt. recently one client was still running on Windows 2000, Exchange 5.5. I remember that from 1999, and they were still running off it. So lack of data hygiene is another issue that I see in a lot of organizations. I go in, I take a look at Azure, I take a look at AD, I see accounts that haven't been used that are still enabled years later. And these are all common things that I see that are out there. Now we're moving into October. There's some software, there's some OSs that are coming end of life for Microsoft. So being able to hit all those devices rather than doing it manually definitely improves the amount of time it takes to support the environment. That's it. Next one. Yeah, there we go. Okay, poll question. What are your pain points? I'm curious as far as, you know, where you're hurting the most.
And you should see a window popping up with a question. Feel free to answer. We'll give you 1 minute to answer, so everyone has the opportunity to respond, and then we'll share the result with the audience, yeah?
This is always a tricky one because it's multiple choice. How do you categorize? I'm sure some people in the audience are like, well, I like to prioritize these.
Well, we have a tie right now at the first, the most wanted items, but
Oh, do we? I don't see the progression.
okay, so we have 4 more seconds to go. I can see it's still moving, so still people responding. Okay, so we have to stop. Put your pencil down. Okay, I'm going to show the result. There we go.
Too many manual tasks. Yeah, that's the winner. Resource and talent skills. Yeah, that's pretty common.
Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, we see that
Good
issue a lot,
information.
especially as more and more companies have to explore newer applications and data platforms, rapidly integrating those. Having the right resources and skills is always a challenge. Cost budget. Very cool. Thank you. Thank you for the responses, everyone.
Okay. The service desk. First, let's start off with the help desk. I hate that term. The help desk is primarily fighting the fires. They're break fix. You know, they're the firefighters. Now, an IT service desk, and I'm a big supporter of ITIL. Their focus is much broader. And typically, I try to align with business goals, a wider scope, basically a command center. It connects users, IT operations, security, as well as data. Now, typically on clients where we implement a service desk and I start taking a look at data, my goal is to be able to handle 80% of tasks coming into the service desk at the service desk level before having escalated up. Basically, making sure that stuff that gets escalated up is stuff that needs to be done. Now, how do we do that? Training, playbooks, and experience. Typically, I don't bring on technicians that are entry level. I look for more seasoned individuals that have a broader scope of technical experience. And the team that we have here at 3GC, they've seen quite a bit. So let's move on to the next poll question. And which service desk attribute does your company lack today and need the most of? Now, Cedric, can you share the responses so we can see?
Yeah, wait, because if I share the result, I will stop the poll, but still people are
Oh,
responding. Yeah, so
okay.
let's give them more, like 30 more seconds. And I'm not an AI agent if people just you can hear my French accent. Yeah. Okay, 8 more
Interesting
seconds.
that we didn't make this one multiple choice. As there's usually a top one, a number one issue.
There we go. There we go, George.
Oh, that's interesting. Security
Data
operations
services.
and compliance. I actually thought that data services and analytics support would be, or yeah, would be highest, or enterprise application support. This is very surprising to see that security operations and compliance support is number one.
Okay. Well, IT operations is almost even with data services.
Yeah, yeah, I did notice that.
Okay.
Very good information.
Okay. For this slide here, let's start at the bottom. In God we trust. Everything else show me the data. Many years ago, I ran into an issue, a resource issue. We were implementing ServiceNow, and my biggest complaint and pain point was I didn't have enough resources. And so I went to my CIO, and he basically, that was his phrase, and I've never forgotten it. And I probably say that to my teams once a week. So what did we do? We developed some changes in ServiceNow. And back then, ServiceNow actually took those changes and added it into their product as a feature. But I was able to quantify data that showed that I had more work coming in than I had resources to resolve those issues. We breached on SLAs. There was a couple of key metrics that we were able to identify. And definitely, I probably tripled the size of my team after I presented data. Now, on this slide, I emphasize AI ops. A lot of the IT operations tools is starting to develop AI into their interfaces, taking advantage of that, learning those capabilities and taking advantage of it. Again, one of the previous pain points was too many manual tasks. AI is out there in some of these tools, like with Freshservice. It'll help you with your reporting to understand where your trends are, how well the team is operating. And just off metrics alone within Freshservice, I can tell if it is a client related issue. We've got clients out there that don't understand the new ERP software, and we're getting a lot of tickets for that. Or, I take a look at mean time to resolve certain issues, and that helps me identify, do I need to work on training for my team? Do I need to up their skills to be able to support the new software, the new hardware coming in? There's many ways to look at the data and have it help you tell a story. And again, utilizing AI ops and chatbots and everything like that, with integrating into Teams and Slack, being able to start typing a message and having AI tell you, hey, I've got this knowledge base on how to change your password. I'm having an issue with my monitor, and AI, based off of what's in the knowledge base, as well as the history of previous tickets, will start generating steps that the user can self-support themselves and resolve the issue on their own. Now, we'll also review some case studies where they took advantage of stuff like this, and how much of an improvement it was in their environment. Tetsu, thank you. Okay, this is the solution. In this model, ITSM is the foundation. a matter of fact, it's the foundation for most of the different frameworks. Again, I'm a big ITIL person. After coming from ServiceNow shops, and by the way, I'm not saying anything necessarily bad about ServiceNow. I love it. I was able to get a very large IT organization with 10,000 users, 220 something locations across the globe, and 70 different sub companies. With ServiceNow, I was able to get everything humming. But when I came to 3GC, a lot of our clients can't afford ServiceNow. And I evaluated a lot of the different tools that are out there, and there's quite a few and growing. But I found Freshservice. I liked Freshservice because it gave me the feel of what I want to do with ServiceNow. As far as the development goes, it is so much easier. It doesn't really require a development team. Again, we can do a lot of customization within Freshservice without getting hardcore developers. That cost a lot of money. Supporting ServiceNow in the US is a huge expense. And with Freshservice, we can make it a minimal expense. So we've got different layers here: endpoint management, monitoring and reporting, vulnerability management, and as well as compliance. Again, finding the right tools that integrate together help you build that service desk command center. Basically having your endpoints having issues, CPU, RAM, disk space, having it generate a ticket in Freshservice for you. Or with NinjaOne, and we'll cover this in a little bit, create automation. So when an alert happens, NinjaOne can automate the remediation of that issue. Monitoring and reporting. You know, I've used SolarWinds. I use Logic Monitor. Getting things to integrate into Freshservice again, and also utilizing the tools to be most effective for you with automation. And again, taking a look at alerts and everything like that. You've got a DHCP scope, you're out of reservations. Running the command to clear the old entries when that happens. As far as asset management and everything like that, I've got one organization that I'm meeting with later this week. I know they have 1,000 devices. I know that their pain point is they don't know where everything is. And coming from financial institutions, having an endpoint device that might have financial data on it go off grid for an extended period of time could be a security breach. So having your tools be able to alert you when an endpoint device has been off the network for, let's say, greater than 2 weeks. Creating a ticket, forcing you to put eyes on that issue and identifying that, okay, that person's actually out on maternity leave, or and true, this actually happened to me. Individual was using their own personal device, connecting to Citrix, doing their work and everything like that. Well, their work laptop went off the radar. We found out that the work laptop was stolen at the airport, and he never reported it. He never reported it to the IT support. He never reported it to the police. So we've got a device that's out there that could be in the hands of somebody else. Now, granted, we did a lot of other things to those devices to help protect it, such as BitLocker and everything like that. We knew the device was secure, but we also, again, utilizing our tools. Once that device got an internet connection, in this case, we use CrowdStrike. CrowdStrike wiped the device. So all that data was gone. And we actually got positive notification that the device was wiped. So again, it's all about using the tools, getting them integrated. And again, ITSM in this picture is a small little bubble. It is the foundation, But if you do it right, you can do it with less resources. Let's move on to the next one. Now, automation. Again, one of the pain points during this call was too many manual tasks. And I think I've said it over and over and over again. Utilizing automation. And you know, I worked in an organization where I had architects for every single team I had, including a desktop architect. There'd be times where I'd be on site, it'd be after hours, we're sitting at a bar and we're just brainstorming and new ways to automate certain tasks while we're drinking beer. User onboarding and offboarding, utilizing Freshservice that integrates with Google Cloud, AWS, Azure, to be able to create the account. And basically, it will also integrate with, let's say, Workday and some other HR platforms. And the integration would basically follow the flow of HR submits the request reaches into Freshservice, kicks off the automation. Freshservice creates the account in the cloud. Depending on how dialed in your environment is, such as access rights to certain data, certain applications, can all be done within that onboarding workflow. It's very complicated to build out, but once you build out, it's pretty much solid. And I know, meeting with a previous client, one of their pain points with onboarding and offboarding is they miss something. A new hire comes on board, it's a couple of days before they're fully production ready because they don't have the access that they need. Again, I had talked about asset management, hardware and software, being able to automate scans and everything like that, being able to automate, adding it into the CMDB, the configuration management database, which is really the center to an ITIL ITSM tool. Automating communication. I submitted a ticket. Well, getting a response back that, hey, I got it. Hey, you know, technician A has your ticket, and communicating through the ticketing system with the user back and forth and everything like that enables all information to be captured within the ticket. There's a lot of different things that we can automate, such as provisioning new VMs in Azure, as well as resources in AWS and Google Cloud. So there's a lot of advantages. With NinjaOne, we'll go over the case study, but enabling endpoint management, deploying NinjaOne across the board, you get a very fast return of investment, and being able to track all your devices, tablets, even mobile cell phones, as well as PCs and laptops, and servers too. There's a lot of benefits and a lot of capabilities behind NinjaOne. That's why that's one of the main tools we use. Let's go into automation. Mike, you want to share, let's say, patch management and for not only OS, but third-party patch management?
Yep, we should be seeing something that says SEWSUS1 in the top left.
Yes.
All right, perfect. So I'll do patch management really briefly. Everything important in Ninja is controlled by policies. Policies are intrinsically tied to devices as soon as they're brought into the Ninja console. And policies is where you dictate when OS patches, in the case of this Windows device, are being scanned and pushed out to devices. The patches are coming directly from Windows Update Center. You can either set that up preemptively, or it will be set up preemptively on the policy, and you can also ad hoc do a scan for new OS updates, as well as third-party software updates. What this looks like on the policy side, determine when and how long you're scanning for updates coming in from Windows, when they are being installed on the devices, when different categories of patches have been scanned, you automatically reject them. Do you put them into a pending bucket where you have to manually accept or reject them? Do you approve them upon scan and then on the next update schedule, which for this policy was set to 9 a.m. or p.m., then it's installed at that time? Or do you want it to be approved 4 days after the release date of the patch, and then on the next update schedule after it's approved, which is, it'll be 9 p.m. that day, 4 days after the release date, then it's installed. For third-party patching, you, from our repository of over 5,000 different softwares, you add the software that you want to patch for. Then you determine the same behavior for critical and recommended patches. Do you auto approve, put into pending, or auto reject? And if the application is not already installed on your device, you can have it auto install. So anything in the repository, and it's got a lot of the basics like Chrome, Box, Firefox, you could have it auto install. If it's not in the repository, you can upload the installer for whatever application you want to install, even if it's a bespoke application, to the automations library, which is done on a different page than this one, but we'll just assume that you had already added it. See if I have an installer. Yeah, here we go. Audacity. You can even run parameters to silently install it. What I'm doing here is I'm setting a scheduled automation to run however many scripts I put on the right side of the screen as soon as a device is online. So if I hit add and hit save, every device that's attached to this policy will automatically start installing Audacity if they are online. If they are offline, when they do come online, they will immediately kick off that install. And that's all I got.
Okay. So, okay, we covered that. Now again, going back to asset onboarding and offboarding, the amount of time it takes to onboard a new device, based off what you saw on the screen, basically, it's relatively fast. You build out your policies and everything like that. You bring on a new device, you add it into NinjaOne, and you create a separate control group strictly for onboarding new devices. Depending on the size of your organization, you can even add roles to that, and basically have all the needed software just pulled down and deploy onto that endpoint device and have it ready within an hour, as opposed to several hours. So again, it's a huge resource savings. Tetsu, you want to move on to the case study? Now, MoneyCorp migrated to Freshservice. Their self-service rose to 33% adoption. Now, just think about what 33% of the calls coming into your organization, what that would alleviate for you. And again, according to MoneyCorp, their efficiency, it gave ideally an increase in productivity for our data. Switching to endpoint devices, reduced endpoint administration time 95%, and they migrated 2,000 endpoints in 3 days, saving 60 hours a month. Again, it's about using the right tools mixed together to enable your team to do a lot more stuff, and for the most part, be able to move the business forward without getting stalled into the day-to-day mundane tasks that you need to get done. Databricks achieved a 23% deflection rate, consolidating from 10 different platforms down to a single tool. UPenn, they deployed Freshservice across 30 different departments at that university. Over 30,000 tickets. Yes, it can handle the volume. There's a lot of large organizations that are utilizing Freshservice. and that are moving off of ServiceNow platforms. Linksys is another client of ours that we moved off of ServiceNow and moved them on to Freshservice, and they're quite happy with that. I've got another large organization that is looking to move off of ServiceNow, and Freshservice is something that they're considering. Vector moving to NinjaOne for 15,000 devices. Now this is a veterinary company, and they spin up new vet shops all over the US. And with NinjaOne and getting those shops up and running faster has improved their business. So there is again, going back to building out your core foundation and integrating with all the right tools will help build your business. It'll help your business spend less time on the IT stuff and spend more time on what's more important to them. Tetsu, back to you.
All right. So we're getting some really great questions coming into both the chat and the QA. So what I'll probably want to do is very quickly go through our value and the webinar only packages, and then let's dive into the QA as quickly as possible so we can get to as many of these questions as we can. So just at a very high level, everything George and Michael talked about over the past several minutes culminates in some key values for our existing clients and for new clients. First, one of the things that makes 3GC unique is that we provide data service management on top of IT service desk, and we include integrated security at a fraction of the cost required to run each of these separately. Next, new implementations like these, they can, and we actually got a question like this earlier in the chat, but they can be daunting, sometimes taking months and still not getting service management up to the level that you want. Maybe you're having trouble because the data teams are making severe requests to you, and it's difficult to find the right resources to support those data platforms properly. What we've been able to do is repeatedly prove over and over again that in real world situations, we can actually do these implementations in weeks, not months. And we generally start with understanding your assets and your SaaS subscriptions, and then we move quickly in a very, very well-experienced sort of pattern to get you up and running. We're also set up for scalable support. We have a very large pool of resources from Tier 2. We don't really have Tier 1 resources, even though we have Tier 2 resources doing some of those tasks where we can't automate those. From Tier 2 resources up to specialized service desk technicians and Tier 3 experts. So as your business needs grow, we have the resource pool to grow with you. And that's one of the reasons why we've got clients sticking with us for 5, 10 years as they continue to grow. And something that's proven increasingly important to a lot of our clients is predictable monthly costs, so that you can see in a measurable fashion your IT overhead decreasing and the number of things you're able to provide and support for your organization increasing, improving, and getting done faster. So that probably leads to the question, what do our core packages look like? So let me run through this very, very quickly. We call our package core, and we have a higher volume version. It's identical services, it's just for higher volume called Core Plus. Now, as we've been discussing today, the key to our services is that we provide IT service desk, service management, and data service desk, all in a single integrated package. So for both Core and Core Plus, the implementation engagement and monthly services component exists. And on the implementation side of things, we're doing asset discovery and documenting. Again, that's step one of any ITSM, right? We're configuring and deploying an ITSM solution. Now, if you already have one, we'll work with you to optimize it to work seamlessly with NinjaOne, an EDR, vulnerability management, infrastructure monitoring, so that everything is working cohesively with your ITSM solution. And on top of that, we'll work with you to create workflows unique to your organization, though we have templates if you'd like to see how most companies do things, and we have automations. On the service desk side, for the monthly services that we provide, we're providing an all-in-one, which again covers IT, security, monitoring and management, which is centered around NinjaOne and includes other connections to other security tools, and then the data service desk. Now, the difference between Core and Core Plus isn't in the service details. As you can see, it's really in the volume. Up to 100 users, the implementation is $10,000 for the full assessment. And for this webinar only package, the first 3 people to sign up will get a 50% discount off of that. And then the monthly fee typically starts at around $5,000 a month. Now, there is some customization and variability that you can have with regards to the service structure, but typically starts at around $5,000 a month. Now, Core Plus is up to 500 users. Typically, the implementation starts around $15,000. Again, that 50% discount on implementation applies. So in this case, you would save as much as $7,500. And for even larger organizations, we'll hit 20 to 25,000. Typically for our onboarding, the 50% would still apply there. And the monthly recurring is typically around $10,000 a month starting at, but that again depends if you want to have a lot more security integration, if you want to have a lot more unique data platforms, we can accommodate that as well. So depending on the size of your organization, basically that 50% off of these 2 packages will be anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000. And that essentially covers what the packages look like. So if you're interested, we're offering this discount to the first 3 companies to sign up for the discovery call. And just let us know and we'll reach out to you end of this week. We will also be providing this for anyone else on the webinar. So give us a call, find out. Let's see what we can do for you from a discount perspective as well. All right, so with that, let me jump right into the Q&A. We have got a lot of questions to go through here. So let's see. There's a lot of ITSM questions in here, but there is one specific to NinjaOne, and I thought maybe, Michael, you might be able to answer this one. Apparently, somebody was reading about the NinjaOne Patch Intelligence AI. And we've touched upon AI a little bit here. So can you talk a little bit about that? Can you, by the way, can you see that question there?
No, I see a lot of stuff in the, oh, there's the Q&A. Yep, I can see.
There's a webinar, in webinar chat, it says just reading about NinjaOne Patch Intelligence AI while watching the webinar. If NinjaOne discovers users have a problem because a bad patch was automatically applied, that's very specific. Does it send that information to the ITSM application as a ticket?
So here, let me go ahead and share my screen. Here's all that happens with our AI tool. Wrong window. Got to find the right one. There we go. All right, so if you turn on our Patch AI tool, it does 2 things. When patches are scanned, according to the policy settings that you set up, only for OS patching, you'll get an extra category in the menu that says KB analysis. This will let you know if through AI generation, through scanning a number of websites and other sources, if there are any known issues with the patch. That's part 1. Part 2, if there are issues with the patch, you can choose to put the patches into the manual bucket so they're not automatically applied. Sometimes
Mike,
people have.
What about uninstalling a patch?
You can roll back a patch, but that's not done automatically. You have to go in and do it.
And the reason why I bring that up is Microsoft recently, after a patch Tuesday, released a patch and 2 days later pulled it back because of adverse reaction to endpoints. Utilizing NinjaOne does make that much easier.
Very cool. Thank you very much for that. We actually have a question that's come from two different people, and so I kind of want to make sure that we cover that. Somebody in the QA asked, they saw compliance in the slideshow, but they didn't see GRC. And then Dave Lawson asked, do you have integrated reporting for SOC 2, PCI, and high trust? So George, do you want to speak to that a bit?
Yes, we support that as well. We utilize a platform that will work with compliance on all the major compliance items, including PCI, SOC 2. We're doing a CMMC compliance for one organization. We build out the project plans, email notifications, tasks, and everything like that on what needs to be done with every yearly audit. And if there's issues now, and it also will integrate within cloud services. And if I recall correctly, inventory services. So it'll check the settings in certain spaces that you integrate with, and it will let you know if you're following compliance. So it does help you out a lot in maintaining that. Recently, with one of our clients, I was explaining that categorizing all that data and staying with that particular tool year over year. So the follow-on year, when it comes audit time, it's just literally you're there already. You just print out the reports and show it to your auditors.
Very nice. Thanks for that. We've got a couple of questions that I can sort of categorize together. Let's see, what are we doing? We still have a few minutes left, so I think we can do a couple more questions. Jeremy Franco has been asking questions about the ease of deployment and with a sort of a bit of a concern about how much you're going to have to change the way you do things in order to implement ITSM. So can you talk a little bit to that, George?
The change. We work with organizations on the organizational change management, the communication to the users. I've been doing this a long time. I look at it as marketing. You want to market your service desk. You want to get your foot traffic into the web interface to open up incidents, open up service requests, as well as utilizing Teams and Slack, communicating that, letting them know that it's there, letting them know about the knowledge base. If you want to reduce the stuff that's coming in and increase the amount of self-help that's out there, keep working on your knowledge base. Keep looking at the data of stuff coming in and tackling some of the easier stuff into knowledge base articles. So when they are in Teams or Slack, or they're actually working on submitting an incident, AI will kick in and be able to provide the necessary documents to them to, again, help reduce the amount of stuff coming in that require actionable resources to deal with those issues. Hopefully I answered that question.
Yeah, no, that was a good answer. So one of the concerns that I'm noticing here is this solution with ITSM and NinjaOne and potentially other integrated security tools, is this for large organizations?
Um,
And I think the concern there is it might be for large organizations and not be a good fit for smaller organizations, say the 100 to 200 range.
I'll be honest, I use it for small organizations of 30 people. In those situations, and again, it's also based on what their requirements are. Do they need to be follow a certain compliance or something like that? But we can actually build out an internal instance for them, do everything that we just talked about. And again, it's a small implementation, and it's relatively fast, and it's almost cookie cutter.
Very cool. Thanks for that. Michael, I got another one for you. Looks like there's some people asking about the compatibility or the usability of NinjaOne for Linux and Mac OS environments. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yep. We support Linux OS patching and Mac OS patching. Mac, we also support third-party patching.
Okay, very cool. So are there any limitations with Linux and Mac OS? Is there anything you don't do? Now, with Linux, I'm guessing you don't do third-party patching because you specifically mentioned that for Mac. But is there anything else that might be different from Windows endpoints?
I mean, in terms of patching, no,
Mhm.
but you can turn on that automatic deployment that I
Mhm.
showed for Mac devices. You can do that for Linux devices as well, where you're running it once immediately as soon as a new device is added. I
Mhm.
mean, there's other limitations for Ninja, but not with patching.
Got it. Okay. Thanks for that. We're right at 9:56, so I think we can do one last quick question. I would like to let people go a couple of minutes early. So just one last quick question for George. We've got somebody who has a mix of on-prem and cloud systems. So I'm guessing that means servers. Can the ITSM service that we provide with NinjaOne support a hybrid on-prem and cloud system environment?
Yes, we do it for several of our clients.
Got it. Understood.
There's also one of the last questions I saw is, how do you handle things like data quality and integration between tools we already use?
Mhm.
That requires a further discussion. That is definitely something that we can do. Data quality, we'd have to take a look at your data sources, how the data is getting in and everything like that. I mean, we work with NetSuite, Salesforce. We actually have developers in those spaces. We do a lot of work with data. And some of the clients that we've come across have legacy systems that we're pulling data from, and we're working with them on automating it. Again, closing out your books at the end of the month, that should be quick. But there is a lot of organizations that spend a month or more on closing out their books for a previous month. So again, these are things that we try to help out as much as possible. And again, closing out the books should be a couple of days at least.
Very cool. Thanks a lot for that. So we are just about at time with about a minute and a half to spare. So let me just leave you with this final look. Once again, we are offering 50% off the initial ITSM implementation and security. We've already got a couple of signups. So if you're still interested, please feel free to let us know. And we'll be sending you the recording of this as a link to your email shortly. So if you'd like to take a look at any other parts of the deck, and also feel free to reach out to us for any kind of discovery or QA that you might have. All right. With that, special thanks to Michael White. I know you've got an incredibly busy schedule doing a lot of demos for a lot of people. And George, I know you've got a lot of client engagements that you've got to be working on. So thank you both. And thank you to the audience for staying with us throughout this webinar. All right. Hopefully we'll
Thank
talk
you.
again soon. Thanks again. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.